Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Today is not just another conversation. It is a strategic imperative. The organizations that will make it to the 2030s and beyond are not those with the biggest budgets and the longest histories. They will be the ones that master change before change masters them. That is why Spark Shift Succeed exists, to anchor transformation through dialogue and to equip leaders and organizations with the mindset to thrive in uncertainty. And that is why our speaker today is not just relevant, he is critical. Now, before I introduce our speaker, I would like to begin by asking you how you feel when you think about change. Is it uncomfortable, scary, or disruptive? Now, hold on to that feeling as we anchor today's conversation. Without further ado, our speaker today is Ilja Grzeskowitz. Ilja has lived the realities of disruption. As Germany's youngest managing director, he led thousands of employees and oversaw sales worth more than €500 million in times of closure, restructuring, and uncertainty. What he discovered is the truth every organization must face. Survival depends on putting people at the center, and success depends on cultivating a mindset that embraces change as opportunity. Today, Ilja is a best-selling author, 14 books, founder of the Change Leaders Academy, and a globally sought-after keynote speaker who has delivered more than 1,200 keynotes across 5 continents. His clients include BMW, Lufthansa, Audi, and 3/4 of Germany's DAX companies, organizations that understand that mastering change is not optional. It is essential. His keynote, The Change Adventure Blueprint, Master Change Before Change Masters You, is not about inspiration. It is about strategy. Now, without further ado, help me in welcoming Ilja. Ilja, over to you.
Melissa, thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. I'm Ilja, happy to be here. And imagine hearing the following words. In order to save this location, you need to change. These were my first words I addressed at my leadership team 1 week after I started my very first position as a 27-year-old store manager for Germany's largest retail corporation. And I was pretty sure that they agreed with me because they were constantly nodding, smiling, and taking notes. And I was extremely pleased with myself. And I thought, well, this change stuff, I'm pretty good at that. And 3 months later, everything was still the same old, like nothing and nobody had changed. Quite the opposite. The atmosphere in our store had become worse. And in my desperate state, I called my boss and I said, well, what am I supposed to do? Nobody's doing what I tell them to do. And I'm pretty certain the whole team is completely resistant to change. And he said, relax, Ilja. I have a very good management tool for you. Use it and they will change. I'm going to send it to you by mail. And indeed, 3 days later, there was a little package on my desk, and on top of it was a handwritten letter. It was back in the days when we used to write letters by hand. And the letter said, hello, Ilja. This is my gift to you. From now on, every time you have the feeling that someone around you is resistant to change, you're going to use this tool. It will show you exactly what you need to change first. And I was pretty excited. What could that be? Was it a checklist? Was it a framework, a personality test? So I opened the box, and what did I find? It was one of these little hand mirrors. And I was like, well, I thought he was going to tell me what I should change, but then it hit me quite hard. And it was a defining moment in my career, maybe in my life, because for the very first time, metaphorically, of course, I looked into that mirror and I understood what leading change, what leading transformation is all about, that it always starts with us, that we have to do first what we expect of others, that we have to deliberately choose our mindset towards life and work, and that change never happens by itself, but only if I do something about it. And just to show you, this is what the mirror looked like. It's broken now, so I have to show you a picture. But this doing something about it actually has a name. It's called change competence. And if you want to actively change your company, your organization, and actively shape the future instead of just passively enduring what is happening to you, then I'd like to introduce to you my Change Adventure Blueprint, which is basically how change works no matter which industry you're in, how big your organization is, or which country you're based. And basically it says like change is always about 4 areas. It's about mindset, it's about culture, it's about leadership and performance. But in these 4 areas, it's always about 3 steps: shift, ignite, and transform. These are the 3 pillars of every successful and sustainable change. And in the next 15 minutes, I'd like to guide you through these 3 pillars. So let's start with the first one, which is shifting your perspective and to actively shape the future and to deliberately choose what you focus on. And I say deliberately because on the outside, we're all convinced that we are open to change, right? Like we love change, right? I mean, put it in the comments. If you love change, say, I love change. But of course, we love change only as long as everything stays exactly the way it has always been, right? And if you think I'm exaggerating, please look at the following picture I just stumbled upon a few weeks ago. Look at this. Yes, and let that sink in. But if you think, don't laugh too much because we all have our own very personal version of that letterbox. And the reason is pretty obvious. Change doesn't happen out there. It happens up here. It's about our mindset, about how we do things, about how flexible we are, how we adapt to the new reality. And that basically means change always starts with me. And it's not some gray theory, but I experienced that firsthand. And I told you, and Melissa said that in the introduction, in 2002, I started my career as the very youngest store manager in the whole country. And this is blackmail material, so I'm just skipping ahead. And I started out, and at the same time, the company went into a huge crisis mode, which had nothing to do with me, by the way. That means we had so many internal changes. Shopping malls were starting to pop up, and online shopping, Amazon was becoming popular. And the business model of department stores was slowly becoming obsolete. And that meant many stores were shut down, they were sold, they were rebranded, and we didn't even know if we still had a job in 6 months. And we had so much uncertainty, we had so much pressure. But my first reaction to that was pretty predictable because I was frustrated, I was demotivated, I was pointing the finger at others. And it got to a point when I woke up in the morning and I didn't really want to go to the job that was once my big dream. But then in one of these moments, I had like an epiphany because I heard the voice of my former boss in my mind, and he said to me in my mind, "Look into the mirror, Ilja." And that's what I did. And I asked myself a question that literally changed the trajectory of my career and my life, because I asked myself, what's the one thing I could do to improve the situation for myself and my team? And the answer was quite scary, but also obvious. The answer was, we need to be so successful that they wouldn't dare to sell us or to shut us down. But of course, in order to do that, we had to do a radical mindset shift. And together with my team, we committed on the following things we wanted to do different. And the first one was, we committed to focus on what we can control. Nothing, we let go of everything else. Second point was, we will be super quick in our decisions and we commit to delivering results. We commit to be resilient, super, super important. We work as one team, always together, never against each other. And then we committed to setting high standards for the quality of our service, of our visual merchandising, for our revenue goals, and of course also for our very own behavior. And for myself, that meant that I always had to go first and to live, lead, and breathe this new mindset every single day. And let me tell you, shifting your perspective in that kind of way, it really works, because fast forward, in the next 7 years, I was responsible for 10 different stores all over the country. And even if the circumstances weren't always easy, together with my team, we managed to deliver some pretty good results. So shifting your perspective is step one of the change competence. And the second one is ignite, which is about lighting the spark in others, to be a role model for the people around you, and also to have the courage to let go of old and maybe even successful ways of doing things, of methods, of strategies, and then continuously riding the waves of change. Why? Pretty easy, because no one, not a person, not a team, not a whole organization, ever had a breakthrough in their comfort zone. And to make that step out of that comfort zone, that's what so many people are afraid of. That's why so many change efforts fail. But maybe a very famous quote from an even more famous philosopher can help you. And maybe you've heard of him. His name is John Wayne. And John Wayne once said, "Courage means being scared to death, but settling up anyway." And the question always is, are you willing to settle up? And I used exactly that kind of mindset in the year 2005, and it was 100 meters above the ground. In situations like that, I'm standing next to a guy who holds a weird-looking cigarette in his left and a can of Dutch beer in his right hand. And he looks pitiful at me because, and to get you in the picture, he looked like a typical surfer dude. Long blonde hair, you can imagine the picture. And he smiled at me pitiful because we were standing in a tiny, very shaky cabin that was being transported into the sky of Barcelona in Spain by an even more shaky crane. And how did I get there? Quite easy. The night before, together with my friends at dinner, we had 1 to 10 bottles of wine. And after bottle number 8, someone suggested, well, why don't we go bungee jumping together tomorrow? And I immediately said, well, oh yeah, count me in. Because as a matter of fact, I always wanted to try that out theoretically. But the higher that cabin got practically, the bigger my fear of heights became. And now I'm standing here and my whole body is shaking and we've reached this famous point of no return. And I remember that the surfer dude, he took one puff on his cigarette, whatever that was, and then he looked at me and said, "Okay, Ilja, bro, are you ready? Do you really want to jump?" And there's only one thought going through my mind: come what may, I'm never ever going to jump down that cabin. But at the same time, I hear the following words spreading out of my mouth: "Yeah, I'm ready. Let's do it." And so the surfer dude, he opens the cabin door, and before I knew it, I was standing directly at the edge. Just one step, and it's a 100-meter drop. And I have to admit, when I'm telling you that now through the screen here, it doesn't sound very high, but if you're standing there looking down, I don't know if you've ever done bungee jumping before, you can maybe drop a comment in the chat box, but it's such a scary feeling, and sweat is running down my face. My heart is pumping, and like all kinds of horror scenarios are going through my head. Like, what if the rope tears apart, just like right now? Or what if it's too long? Because I actually had faked my weight in the registration form, and I was so close to quitting as I sense a hand on my shoulder, and it was the surfer dude. And he smiled at me, and then he said something that helped calm me down, because he said, "Listen, Ilja, I know that you're afraid. Everybody is up here, but if you have the courage to jump, then it will be just incredible. Trust me, I'm at your side." And in that moment, that surfer dude became my jump master, the person who sensed exactly what I needed, what was lacking, and what he could do for me. He supported me, and I became calm, and I had made a decision, because I probably would have regretted it my whole life if I didn't dare to do it. And what came next is so hard to describe with any words, so I thought I'd just show you a picture. Yeah, that's me. And I don't know if it was because of the adrenaline, the dopamine, or because I, just for relaxation purposes, had taken a little drag on this herbal cigarette, but already after 2 seconds, it was like flying. I could have done that forever. But of course, the free fall doesn't last forever. it takes around 3-4 seconds, and then the rope catapults you back up in the air. And that special moment that was even more intense, I learned something that influenced the way I think. It influenced my mindset and the way I'm dealing this whole topic of transformation until today, because jumping down from that cabin, which I was so afraid of, wasn't scary at all. It was probably one of the greatest experiences of my whole life. The only scary thing was the thought of jumping in my mind. And it's that kind of negative imagination that so often stops us from making a change in business, because we are so afraid of what might happen that we never dare to jump and miss out on the best experiences of our whole life. And the next thing I learned was there are moments in our life, personal, community, but also in business, of course, where we really want to change, where we want to make a difference, where we want to go first, but for whatever reason, we're just not able to. And that's why we need a jump team. We need people who believe in us, but at the same time challenge us. We need people who sometimes give us a little push, sometimes pull us, support us. We need people who trust us, but at the same time continuously move us from the safety of the middle to the edge, because there's where the magic happens. And my philosophy can be summed up in 3 letters, NWA, which basically stands for nobody wins alone. And you can check that up if you want to, because success, whatever success means for you personally, in every area of your life, rises and falls with the people who support you on your journey. And without a competent, motivated, and supporting team at your side, you will never be successful, and you're always stronger together. So let me ask you the most important question: who are these jump masters in your life? And maybe even more important, for whom can you be a jump master? Because at the end of the day, change, shaping the future, leading transformation is basically like bungee jumping. It comes down to 3 questions. Do you have the courage to leave your comfort zone and make that first step into the unknown? Do you have the courage to try out new ways, even if you don't know exactly 100% where they will take you? And do you have the courage to go first and be a jump master for the people around you? And if you do that with passion and the 3 steps of the change competence, shift, ignite, and transform, then your team, your customers, your business partners will gladly follow you on that way. Which brings me to the 3rd and last pillar of the change competence. And I have to admit, it's the one that sounds the easiest, but the one where most change efforts fail, because shifting your perspective once and making one courageous jump is good, but it's not enough. It's about consistency. It's in the repetitions after that, in the weeks and months, where the real transformation happens. And so in closing, to help you a bit with that, I'd like to give you 2 very concrete tools that you can start using immediately this Monday morning in your daily job, no matter what it is. And the first tool, you already know that it is actually a question. Yes, just a question, but it is so powerful if you're willing to answer it truthfully and have the courage to follow up on the answer. And the question is, and you may have remember that, the question is, what's the one thing I could do to improve the situation, in brackets, that I'm probably complaining about a lot for myself and my team? That's the best tool I know. Always start with yourself. And then if you have an answer to that and you found the one thing, then I'd like to give you my execution code, which is basically the 16618 formula, which stands for one thing for 66 days, 18 minutes a day. Why that? One is, it's about focus. If you just focus on one thing, you don't get distracted, and you can just focus all your money, your time, your energy, and all the other resources, and just be laser focused. And that helps you to not get distracted. Second one is 66 days is like current state of science says it takes on average 66 days to form a new habit, which means after 66 days, it becomes easier to implement the new behavior instead of holding on or falling back into old and mostly negative habits. So whatever you're trying to do, 66 days is always a great milestone to set for you. And the 18 is basically about this famous rule of 100, which basically says if you're trying to learn a new skill or develop a habit or implement some knowledge, or you want to learn an instrument, a new sports, or something in your business life, like communication skills, or you want to be a coach, whatever it is, if you just spend 100 hours deliberately focusing on learning that new skill, 100 hours a year, then you're already ahead on 90% of the people around you. You're ahead of 90% on the people around you. And 100 hours a day, more or less, approximately comes down to 18 minutes a day. And I know that you're all busy. We all have our calendars full. But if something is important to you, I mean, we all have those 18 minutes, right? It's about priorities. So one thing, 66 days, 18 minutes a day. Having said that, I'm about to close. And before I do that, I hope that, I mean, this is what was a very compressed introduction into myself and the things I do. And I hope you got at least a bit of inspiration and some concrete tools. But if you take away just one thing, then I would love to be it the following one. The next time maybe you're in your office right now, or if you're watching the recording, you're maybe somewhere else, but the next time you're in your office or wherever you're working, whether it's from home or in the office, before the next day starts, before all the emails start popping in, the Teams meeting and customers complaining, whatever your daily job looks like, take a deep breath, calm down, enjoy the calm before the storm starts again, and then do the same thing I did so many years ago. Take a look into the mirror and look yourself deep into the eyes. And after you've done that, please don't see just a normal person. See someone who is committed to make a difference and focuses on the opportunities of the future. See someone who's committed to be a jump master, goes first and lights the spark in others. That's so important to be a role model. That's ignite. And then see someone who is committed to take small steps every day and then develops powerful habits that turn into these big changes after time. And that's transform. And please remember the 3 steps: shift, ignite, transform. Use them, and then you will make a big dent in the universe. And yeah, look at my clock, 20 minutes sharp. We're done. Thank you so much for the time being.
Ilja, you are an incredible speaker and such a breath of fresh air to listen to. And I wish we had more time with you. Thank you so much for being our compass. Ladies and gentlemen, just when I thought our sessions could not get any better, this one was absolutely incredible. Ilja, thank you so much once again for sharing
It was a
your
pleasure.
pearls of wisdom. Ladies and gentlemen, what Ilja has given us today is more than a blueprint. It is a mindset. He reminded us that change isn't something that happens out there. It begins right here with us. And I think throughout the session, we had a lot of self-reflecting to do. And I think when the ground feels shaky, when the familiar disappears, the instinct is to resist. I think we can all agree that we always worry about that rope letting loose. But Ilja, you showed us that the real breakthrough comes when we shift our perspective, igniting new ways of doing things and riding the waves of change. And remembering that nobody ever discovered something extraordinary by staying in their comfort zone. What a word, what a word. Let me jump into the chat. We have Dawn. Dawn is asking, in a rapid changing environment, how does one ensure that the change is sustained and achieve the results before another change happens?
Well, first of all, that is a very good question, and it's not that easy to answer. The honest answer would probably be you really can't. You can't ensure that, but you can do the best so that the outcome has a probability of succeeding. And you can do that by setting very clear goals. Like, I mean, there are always two areas to every sustainable change. First one is you need to have some kind of vision or direction, or maybe even a specific goal where you want to go. Like, where do we want to be in a year from now, or for 2 years from now? And then the second one is what I was talking about. It's the daily routines, the daily small steps, the daily habits that get us there. But I highly recommend starting this journey and then build in deliberately, like, you have to measure whether you're getting nearer to your goal, or whether you're maybe getting off the path, and then you have time to react. Like, you can't just plan ahead for 2 or 3 years. I think the world is just too volatile for that right now. So have a big vision, establish daily habits, and then maybe even once a month or every 2 weeks or once a quarter. That depends on your specific needs, but build that deliberately into your calendar, and that where do we stand? Are we getting closer or not? Do we have to make adjustments? And then it's just, can we go further? If it works, just do more of that. If it doesn't work, you have to adapt, maybe even to rethink your goal. But it's always be on the move, always be active, and never be just passive and wait for what's happening to you. Try to adapt that mindset of being the driver of the bus, and then just drive and see what's happening on the road before you. And if you use that shift, ignite, and transform, I can't guarantee you that the change will be successful, but the probability is pretty high, if that makes sense.
It does. Perfect sense. Thank you. And I think at the heart of what you said is be deliberate. Set clear goals, have a vision, and direction of what success looks like, right?
Exactly.
Change the daily habits. I like that. Change the daily habits. And really anchoring what you said. I'm just looking into the comments. Jeff said, a leader needs to demonstrate his or her willingness to change. That's absolutely right. We do have a few minutes for another question or a comment. I see Paul's hands up. Paul, please take us away.
Thanks. Ilja, just a question from us, just logistically speaking. There's a lot of conference organizers on these kind of calls and watch the recording afterwards, and business leaders. And where would you recommend, like, what is a no-brainer when they're planning their conferences, or when there's an opportunity to get someone like you in? Where is it just a no-brainer, where you've walked off the stage and thought, well, I landed that beauty. I was exactly the right speaker for that conference. You know, when you get that kind of feeling, and everybody else does as well. What are those kind of events? What should we be absolutely looking out for you in the future?
Paul, thank you. I'm going to give you an answer that is so not of the marketing and positioning textbook, because I would probably say basically almost every audience where, one, the leadership team is committed to making a change happen, and second, the audience wants to be part of that journey. I'm saying that because I'm not an industry-specific speaker. So that means I'm not only talking to, let's say, automotive or banking. I'm basically, I've been working through every single industry possible all over the world. And I'm also not, yes, I like sales conference, of course, because salespeople are very open. They're very like extroverts, and they're loud, and they're open to new things. But I also like working with legal teams. Yes, I do. I also like working with IT teams, which are, and you wouldn't say that they are super open to new ways, but if you find the right approach and find a way to connect with them, then also these kind of events can be like a really fun way. But it's important for me that the leadership team goes first, as I don't know who said that in the chat. It's super important because as a leader, you can be like the driving force of a change in a company, or you can be the one who puts his foot on the brakes. You have to put your foot on the metal, on the pedal. That's important. And then the audience needs to be open. And for me, it doesn't matter if it's just 20 people in a room or if there's 2,000. I like both. Of course, big stages are great, but also small business rooms get you the opportunity to like connect with the people, to create some kind of intimate experience. So for me, it's not about the context. It's more about the people who are in this room. I don't know if that made any sense at all, but
It did. Thank
I
you
couldn't unmute
so
myself.
much.
Thank you. Perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you, Paul, for that question. And yeah, we're looking forward to engaging you in a lot more conferences where the objective is impact. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. I know we're out of time, but we do have one question left. And for those
Yes,
that
please.
can't stay on the call, please do stay with us. We have a question from Millicent. Millicent says, Ilja, thank you for the inspirational session. Such amazing pearls of wisdom. I wanted to ask you, what's the single mindset shift that moves someone from fear to courage?
I'm going to answer with a quote I wrote in my latest book, and the quote is, I have to preface, I'm not an esoteric guy, but I deeply believe into this sentence. It's you are not the victim of the universe, you are the universe. And if you get that mindset shift transformed into daily habits, I can guarantee you, your world will change.
That's absolutely beautiful. What a closing anchor piece. So I think the thought I want to leave everybody with is that change will always come. It's constant, fast moving, and unpredictable, but whether it breaks us or builds us depends on the story we choose to tell ourselves. And Ilja mentioned that when he said, look into the mirror. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And Ilja, thank you so much for guiding us through this conversation. And let's carry this back into our organizations and our lives as a call to act, not just to reflect. With that said, please join us next week as we have another incredible world-class speaker, Yaniv Zaid, on another incredible topic right here, 9 a.m. Monday, South African time, here on Zoom. And thank you so much once again, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us. Looking forward to having you tune in next week. Bye, everyone.